How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to the house in Fata Morgana. Alright, so last time we have Giselle, who's the first time we've actually heard a name for the white-haired girl, who confessed her love for Michel. Yeah, I don't know. That was weird. I'm not sure. It just seems so out of place. Like, it's literally somebody who she barely talks to, but, like, at the same time, it's the only person who's been kind to her, so maybe it makes sense. And she's also young in this one, apparently. Like, she's supposed to be, like, 15 or something. So, I don't know, kind of a Romeo-Juliet type problem where they just don't understand enough about life to really know what love is or something. I don't know. But we'll have to see. All we do know is that she is determined to kind of get closer to him, despite the fact that he has the literal ability to kill anything he touches. So that's interesting. That's also very... It's a fascinating thing. I wonder where that came from. Are we going to find out? Because apparently this is the beginning, but it feels like his story, like, where did that curse come from? Like, did it come out of the blue or something? I just don't know. But we'll have to find out more. We also know that his family, like, secretly drops off supplies, but makes sure never to be in contact with him so that he doesn't kill anybody. Yeah, so... I guess without further ado, there's really not much more I can say beyond the fact that, like, last time was all about the two of them kind of getting to know one another, at least initially. So, now we will proceed with whatever's going to happen next. His was a power that evoked images of witches or demons, the unclean and the impure. A mere touch was all it took for him to strip a man and beast alike of its life. God has quite the cruel streak to bestow such a power upon a beautiful young man. And a strange power it was indeed, like something out of a fairy tale. Like something confined to words upon a page, seemed otherworldly, unbelievable. Darn right it does. It's like he exudes radiation or something. That would also kill you just by being close to him, not just touching him. Nonetheless, as he had demonstrated with the white-haired girl, his peculiar powers were indeed real. That said, in a world that has its fair share of oddities, it just so happens that those curiosities tend to remain hidden away, known only to a few. Although you have laid your eyes upon a number of unusual phenomena yourself, Master. The door is the path through which we have passed. This very magic. Okay, fair point. You know what? Why am I being so critical of literal touching death, when up till now I've literally been traveling through memories and time in a mansion that seems to be able to move through space-time, has eternally existed almost perpetually as it is, and has a maid that's literally been working there the entire time except for this memory so far. Why am I so skeptical of poison touching at this point? She has a very good point. And, as a matter of fact, the two of us. Now, as you just saw, the white-haired girl found herself enraptured with the man and his accursed power. How do you think Michel acted in response to her proclamation? I'm sure he literally just didn't say anything and walked away, because that's kind of what he does. He had spent so long refusing to interact with others. No, unable to interact with them. As such, he was unsure how to respond. After standing there expressionless for a few moments, he muttered, "I'll consider it." And with that, he returned to his chambers. While he was not someone who wore his heart on his sleeve, I personally do not believe he was completely devoid of emotions. He had simply forgotten how to express them in the extent of his solitude. It's fascinating. Like, I don't know. This whole situation is just freaking ridiculous. Like, just the way it all plays out and how he's supposed to be doing things and how he's supposed to be behaving. It's just strange. It's all just so weird. So I think that he was, in that moment, in a state of complete panic. Probably. She had, after all, just assaulted him with a stream of incomprehensible declarations. That, knowing the truth, she still wished to remain in the mansion. And that, knowing the truth, she loved him. The love she had declared for Michel was not a fleeting puppy love. There was genuine tenderness and warmth to her words. That seems to be kind of the white-haired girl's returning theme, right? She loves those whom she shouldn't. Now, I think that the very first story with Mel and then the white-haired girl as the servant, that was like I can see that being kind of a legitimate one. I mean, that kind of love, I'm sure, happened all the time. Often got brushed under the rug, but it happened all the time. But then there was her love for Jacopo, and her love for the Beast, and her love for this Michel. Like, these other instances all seem to be like love in defiance of what is going on, rather than love that is earned through mutual respect and like interest. It's really interesting. I don't know if there's any meaning to that pattern, but it does seem kind of odd, because like I remember like she so stubbornly loved Jacopo. Like, she was practically insane about her love for Jacopo. And then for the Beast, I can kind of sympathize, but she, again, like, really shouldn't have felt so comfortable with him, but yet she did. I don't know. The white-haired girl's interesting. It's almost like she spent the rest of eternity trying to find love and was constantly drawn to the wrong kinds of people. Almost like, was it Stockholm Syndrome? Like, the idea that, like, despite the fact that you know it's bad for you, you can be drawn into the same relationship or the same kinds of relationships over and over again. Interesting. But he had gone through his life shunned, feared, and pushed away. To him, that was normal. He had never given anyone reason to have any fondness for him, so he found himself utterly unsure how to take this affection she was showing. Of course, he was not the only one rattled by the whole affair. Oh dear. Several days had passed since Michel had asked for time to think. He had still yet to show himself again. This is all my fault. The white-haired girl paced anxiously through the halls of the off chance she might run into him. As per his request, though, she kept her distance from his chambers. Nevertheless, she was beginning to worry about the fact that he had secluded himself away for so long. She worked up her courage and made her way to his room. What if he doesn't want to see me ever again? I didn't consider I might have overstepping my bounds. Before opening my mouth, every step she took was slow and laborious. Her mind raced with worry and doubt. I should at least tell him I'm sorry. Rather than out of a desire to know how he felt, she was compelled by guilt and desired to apologize. Again, her personality is super consistent through all these stories. After walking for some time, she arrived at the door sitting in an utterly unlit hallway. She drew in a breath of musty air, then let it out, repeating the process several times. Next, she reached her hand up to knock on the door, then pulled it back, also doing this a number of times. Oh, how adorable she was. I wanted nothing more than to give her a little nudge. So wait, so she is here then? This is the first time she's actually mentioned that she was actually present, besides the fact that she seems to be relating the story as if she were there. Like up to now, it was almost like she was telling a story, but now she's talking about how she was watching. After all, she was too sweet a girl for her worries to be anything but misplaced. I just can't find the courage. Maybe I should come back another day. But what's the point of waiting? I need to apologize and get the weight off my back now. His back, sorry. She gathered up her courage once more, this time determined she would do it. The white-haired girl moved her small fist towards the door, which then swung open. Yeah. I'm sorry. Please, you must announce your presence. I almost walked right into you. Are you in that much of a hurry for a mishap? Oh yeah, fetch! I kind of forgot for a second. Yeah, that would literally be her death. I'm sorry. And I believe I told you to stay away from my chambers. You did. So I spent a long time debating whether I would, but I decided I really wanted to tell you this. Oh, well, actually. I am truly sorry. What? The other day, I could barely manage to get the words in my head all the way out of my mouth. There was no room in my mind for anything else. I shoved my own thoughts and feelings into your face, not considering that they might not be what you wanted. Just running non-stop, not thinking at all. I was terribly disrespectful to you, completely selfish. You're a kind-hearted man. I truly believe that. But you were only being courteous because you're a nice man. I'm sure you have little interest in the affections of a queer little girl. So, I would love it if I could stay here. It would be a wonderful blessing. But if you really don't want me here, if my feelings are imposing upon you, then I apologize. I'm sorry, and I'll take my leave of this house. I'm sorry. Don't be, my mind went blank for a moment. What? I find it difficult to comprehend you. The other day you were firm in your intentions to stay, and now you'll say you'll leave without a struggle. You holed up in your room for so long that I thought, you didn't want me around. To be honest, I want to stay here. I do. I think you should do whatever pleases you. Huh? You can stay, or you can leave. I will not pressure you to do one or the other. So, I'm not imposing? To tell you the truth, I had to think about that for some time. However, I have now come to something of a solution. Since you're here, come into my room. Whoa! Like, not even like the whole, like, what, like, implications that could mean. More of like, what on earth is in this room? What? But I thought I wasn't allowed to. To prevent what almost happened a few moments ago, so we don't accidentally run into each other. Sorry. You're forgiven. Now come in. Okay. Alright. Okay, alright. Is this a necklace? If that's what it looks like to you, then I suppose it means I succeeded. Pick it up. Huh. It has a little bell. It's adorable. Please, make an effort to wear that while you're in the house. Because it's so dark, there will always be exists the risk that we might accidentally bump into one another. So I tried to come up with a way to reduce that risk. Does that mean you don't leave your room because you were working on this? That's right. What other reason would I have? I think most people would assume it because they had put you in a bad mood, or that you didn't want to see them. I have little sense of how most people see the world. Sorry. I appreciate it, though. I'm really glad to know that you put so much thought into a life together with me. It would be difficult not to, after the other day. I'm so happy right now. I can't think of any better word to describe it. I couldn't be happier. You're being dramatic. To tell you the truth, I feel a little bad about it. Why? It seems rather impertinent to affix a bell to someone. You're not livestock, you're a person. That's why you turned it into a necklace? Thank you very much. I'll keep it on me at all times. I really, truly appreciate it, Lord Michel. Don't call me Lord, please. Alright then, I'll just call you Michel. And will you please call me Giselle? The windows. What? If we could open the windows. Never mind. I was just thinking you wouldn't need the bell at all if we could get some light in here. They can't be opened. They're rusted shut. All the windows have been shuttered for as long as I've been here. I assume you'd boarded them all up. That was done long before I ever arrived. After so many years here, though, I hardly considered it an inconvenience anymore. It also serves to repel wanderers. Oh, really? There's something odd about that. No. It's just... I realized I had a wrong impression about a number of things. As I learn more, I see things in a different light. See you in a different light. And I'm sure there's still plenty more to learn for me to learn. Of all the people I have ever met, You are perhaps the most difficult to predict. Not only do you have no aversion to darkness, you... The dark has always been a close friend of mine. Which isn't to say I dislike the sun. His light can simply be too strong for me. I'm like some kind of unholy monster that can't be exposed to sunlight. You are anything but unholy. My name would suit you much better than me. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I don't know what happened. I got a haircut recently, and like up till now I just didn't realize like the way she cut it's like super short for some reason over here. Like, I mean, I know I'm getting older, and it's like, you know, like hair loss is probably a thing. Like, I know plenty of people who have... I'm hearing weird noises, by the way. But the first time I know plenty of people who are my age who have already lost their hair, poor buggers. But like, I don't know why she cut it that way. She like cut it really short right here, and it's cut, like I can tell, because like this, it's just not very long, but it's not like it's like longer to cover up anything. Anyway, there's gross sounds now, so I'm gonna stop rattling about my haircut. I'm just like, I keep looking into the camera, and I'm like, what is happening right here? Like, that's just so, I don't know, maybe I'm just in denial about my hair, but like, I just feel like the haircut was not done very well. Like, I don't know. Oh man, I'll have to wait for it to grow out. Anyway, I'm hearing like something eating meat. It's like we're going back to the beast. Anyway, that day when I first saw Giselle, I was wary of her, apprehensive. Oh, I think this is Michel. I was wary of her, apprehensive. I didn't want her anywhere near me. But whoa, wait. That was... Oh, here we go. Red again. You are, but would suit much better. That's his name. And like, that's the other thing. So there's other things that are being blocked out. It's like something's trying to delete certain things, and usually this like the focuses. Anyway, but then listen. Ha 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 ha! What a beautiful story. Much better than the real thing, is it not, my dear? Anyway, so I didn't want to near me, but as my doubts about her faded, I began feeling something very different, as though the lump in my heart had been melted away. That sound is awful. I began to yearn for her to be at my side. Now, interesting. Is there more red text that's going to be, like, if I see the flicker, that red text showing up, knowing full well it couldn't possibly last. No. Knowing full well how foolish it was, I found myself captivated by her. I found myself wishing to have her stay with me. What is that? The gross, like, fleshy noises and that? What is that? What is happening? It's like freaking Doki Doki Literature Club at this point. Like, is someone gonna start talking and like being like, hey, you reader, gonna break the fourth wall or something? All right, so let's see the backlog again. Anyway, so yeah, so interesting. What a beautiful story. Much better than the real thing, is it not, my dear? Interesting. So like maybe what we're seeing isn't the truth. I wonder. Maybe the editing is somebody trying to tell me that like parts of the story have been changed. Maybe that's what the blinks are, because like there's so many. Whoa! Look at that. Images are slithering into my head, replacing memories before they can surface. Stop. Whoa. Okay. Okay, like I have to keep looking through this now, because look at this. Look how much of this text is completely unaltered. About their okay, so like so much of this is unaltered, and yet there's certain parts where it's like heavily altered, like it's edited, and it's only been in these last few parts for what I can tell. I'm so This last section is so trippy. It's so trippy. Cause like, so now we get down to here, like we're here, like their conversation, it's like it's being edited. And then we have that whole like section up here where it talks about like how images are slithering into my head, replacing memories before they can surface. So is something editing this last memory, trying to spare me the truth? And then we had that glimpse where we had the shadow that we saw when we went into the master bedroom, and the weird flesh sounds, which are horrifying. So maybe that was a real true memory kind of poking through. And then this line here, what a beautiful story, much better than the real thing, is it not, my dear? So what if... Alright, so Giselle. Maybe that's not her real name. Maybe she is the Fata Morgana. And if she is Fata Morgana, and she is a witch, and she's the one that sourced the house, perhaps she alters the memories of a specific person whom she fell in love with, Michel. She traps his soul in the house with hers, determined to repeat history over and over again until they can be together at last for all eternity. As part of this process, she's even altered his own memories in an attempt to keep him from remembering the horrors of what actually ended up happening, whatever that was. And she's the one fiddling with our brain. That's what the red text is her as well, because like in reference to here, she's like, it's not, my dear, much better than the real thing. It sounds like she's the one making additions to this. Possibly. And that could make a lot of sense. Like if she has the ability, I'm sorry, I keep going that. If she has that capability to kind of reach back through time and try and reincarnate herself and him over and over again, trying to make them meet up, it would explain quite a lot of the things that have been going on. In my mind, at least. I feel like it makes a little sense. And then this editing thing and the red text really starts to make a lot more sense as well. That she's literally in our brain fiddling with the memory in order to try and keep us from, like, she wants us to find happiness rather than the misery of what ended up happening, which, I mean, if I were to guess what that could possibly mean, like, maybe her memory is going to be about these star-crossed lovers who fall in love and are happily ever after, but the truth of it is more that she ended up killing him somehow, either directly or indirectly. And the sad thing is that that munching, flesh-eating noise was certainly a bit on the darker side, so... Ooh, this is getting crazy. And then, of course, there's the fizzies.
And that marked the true beginning of their quiet days together in the dark mansion. And they acknowledged and accepted each other's presence, no longer isolating themselves, but actively, regularly conversing. As mundane as it may seem, it was something they had been unable to attain until then. Nevertheless, they were still somewhat fumbling around in the dark with one another, drawing closer and pushing away again.
Well, good, they kind of have to.
Michel, in his own ungraceful way, was beginning to open up himself to the things that she said. And the white-haired girl was beginning to smile with greater frequency. They had taken to dining together, and her wish of learning to read was being granted. He taught her in the feeble light of a candle placed upon the table, the two sitting across from one another. Though Michel seemed to be well educated, he had not been instructed in the art of teaching, so he found the process quite grueling. But to the white-haired girl, the longer it took the better. Her primary objective was, after all, to spend time with him. The days passed, and eventually she reached the point where her comprehension was adequate enough without assistance. Her next request, then, was for them to read through a book together. Have you read every book in the library?
No, I stopped looking through them after a while. Most everything I'm sent is dull, uninformative dreck. The Diary of a Lord, foolish make-believe tales.
You're not fond of fiction, I take it.
What value is there in lies and fantasies of another?
Stories can be invigorating. Tales of adventure can take you to places you could never go. Legend of heroes, folklore, stories of otherworldly phenomena. They can be terrifying. They can be exhilarating. They may not be real, but they give you a little glimpse into an author's heart, that you feel like you're seeing the same thing they saw.
You are a very empathetic girl.
Fiction inspires nothing of the sort in me. However, perhaps long ago, I may have been able to, though I can no longer remember what it feels like.
I'm sure it'll come back to you. You're not an empty man. Sorry, I'm making you uncomfortable again. How about we read this book today?
It appears to be a collection of legends.
You haven't read this one yet, then? That's good to hear. It'll be more enjoyable if it's a new experience for both of us. It looks like it's a record of local legends.
The book is divided into several sections, though it appears to be mostly superstitions.
I am curious what sort of stories this area has. The two of them were looking down at the simple, undecorated volume. As the white-haired girl had said, it seemed to be a collection of local legends passed down generation to generation. They sat across from one another at a table, her turning the pages and Michel simply watching so as not to brush against her. Eventually, her eyes were drawn to a particular word on one of the pages, bringing her hand to a stop. The witch. That chapter detailed a story of a witch, or more precisely, said witch's curse. The story went something like this.
Okay, interesting. Okay, real quick, checking the backlog, because that's what we do now. Interesting, so like that right there, the witch, that's been blotted out. That's a clue to what could be being kind of fiddled around with. That's another potential. Press on go, can't remember what it feels like. I'm sure it'll come back to you. Have you read everything in the library? No, I stopped. Once again, so I'm trying to think of like, what could she be editing out here in the memory?
There once was a witch, skilled in the dark arts. She lived a meager but peaceful life alongside the other villagers. But then, a long, long drought struck the village, which the people blamed on the witch.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
The witch was sentenced to death. As the fire blazed around her, smoke rose high into the air. The smoke soon became rain clouds, blessing the village with an end to the drought. The crops were revitalized, and the villagers fancied themselves heroes. However, the rain also brought madness upon the people. Though the earth below them was lush and fertile, the villagers were losing their minds, and they eventually began to take each other's lives. The witch still lived on, in the form of a curse. Many fell victim to the witch's curse. Though they did not only take, it also fulfilled people's desires. The villagers had gone mad, but their wish for freedom from the drought had been granted. Thus the legend has been passed down as follows. The witch will grant your wish in exchange for great sacrifice. As smoke in the air, she watches down upon us from above. To reach the witch, climb for the heavens, but know the road is a road to destruction.
Interesting. So it sounds eerily similar, and it also could imply that the real witch and witch's curse might actually have been before this too. Despite being told that this is like where it all began.
People still believe the witch's legend even now, I suppose. And that's why I
faced accusations of being a witch. This is not an area very welcoming to outsiders, especially one who stands out as much as you. What brought you to this region in the first place?
Mine is a story I think you've heard before. I was cast out of my house. I come from a very poor family, could barely even afford to keep everyone fed. Being as weak as I am, it was only natural that I'd be the first to go.
I see.
What I don't understand, though, is why the witch is said to grant people's wishes. That is to say, she had reason enough to hold a grudge, but not to give people things they asked for.
All we have to go on is a few pages. There's no saying what might have been changed or added over time. It's almost certain the entire legend isn't written here. That said, if we are to accept everything as written, you can infer that the witch's reason might have been.
And that is?
If you truly want that much, you can have it, but I'll make certain your suffering outweighs it. Interesting philosophy. Despair that comes after the moment of happiness is far more agonizing than despair alone. I presume that is why the witch decided to grant the people's wishes.
That is one way to look at it. May I ask you something?
Go on.
When I first arrived here, you told me that a cursed witch used to live in the mansion. After reading this legend, I'm now finding it hard to believe you made that up simply to scare me away.
I appropriated the tale, nothing more. It is said the witch was born in this house.
What?
Quite the place for my family found for me. But it was a clever decision putting me here, I think. Not many people are likely to come near a house with such a pedigree.
But... no, never mind. That makes sense. I suspect I know what she was going to say then. If the witch is said to grant wishes, then wouldn't that also attract people who so desperately want something? They do not care what price they must pay? And perhaps she was correct. Perhaps there has been those who have come to the mansion chasing after the legend. And perhaps they have encountered Michel, touched him, and lost their lives. On that day in the garden, he had said, "Many things are buried here." Perhaps that included such visitors. I wonder if the story might be more than mere superstition.
Alright, sorry, I know I'm checking lots, but I just gotta see. Looks like everything's normal. So that wasn't changed. If the Witch of Legend really did exist, what would you do?
It might be nice to talk to her, maybe.
That's all? Really?
I feel a little bad for her, though. The only people who ever visit here are those that ask for something, after all. I can only imagine just how lonely that must be.
I swear, I cannot comprehend the way your mind works.
Sorry.
Although, if we assume the legend is true, I have an idea what climb for the heavens might mean.
Huh?
The mansion has an observation tower. Or, I suppose, what used to be an observation tower. At any rate, it is quite a tall structure. This is the house where the witch was supposedly born. A tower reaching for the heavens seems like the perfect place to find her, if she really is here.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing a rather tall structure at first when I approached the mansion.
Would you like to see it?
Of course. Please, lead the way. The two of them left the library and made their way to the room with the stained glass window. At the far end of the room there were stairs leading to the observation tower. The tale of the witch had piqued the white-haired girl's interests, inspiring her to put herself forward to satisfy that curiosity. She had, after all, been accused of being a witch herself, so she undoubtedly felt an affinity to the legend. What a sweet girl she was.
Are they gonna find the maid up there? Up we go. What's at the top? Probably terrible things. Or at least a terrible experience, like something that spooks her and bumps her into him.
With Michel in the lead, the two climbed a long, long spiral staircase. There were many more stairs than the white-haired girl had anticipated, and she soon found herself short of breath.
I'm right with you, girl. I feel you.
Rectangular windows were carved out of stone in regular intervals. Peering through one of them, she could see a village in the distance. A pleasantly cool, high-altitude breeze brushed across her face. After much climbing, they finally arrived at the top, where a door made of partially rotted wood stood. Michel pulled open the door, revealing a small room with no windows or doors in sight.
Okay.
This is the top of the tower. In spite of being called an observation tower, you could hardly observe anything from there. Her face contorted in confusion. The white-haired girl threw her gaze around the room. Glancing up, she saw only a darkened ceiling, and slightly below it, a single small window through which a stone shone a little ray of light.
Ooh, what was that story that was told? Like, it was Fetch. Who told? I can't. Oh yeah, it was in the very first one with Mel and the white-haired girl. She told the story that her dad used to say about like the princess locked in a tower that had a tiny little room and like a tiny little window, and they could pass paper to one another. I wonder if it was based in this room. The beam cleaves through the darkness like a sharpened blade of a beautiful sword. The darkness draped over the rest of the room only served to make it more impressive, the solitary ray of light. It had a magical, fairy tale quality to it. As if being pulled in by it, she drew towards the light.
I suspect there was once a large window in this room. If you look closely, you can see seams in the stone of the wall. The color of the stone differs slightly on either side of the seams. I presume something caused them to steal off the window after it was built, though I do not know what that something might be. Ah, he's getting a real good look at her this time.
When Michel's eyes fell upon the white-haired girl wrapped in that beam of light, he sputtered to a stop. The man who never flinched at anything, who had long since distanced himself from such stirrings of the heart, was utterly bewitched. He had never seen her illuminated so vividly before, and he was having a great deal of trouble finding the words to describe her striking beauty. For someone who had been chased out of her home and accused of being a witch, the white-haired girl looked less like a practitioner of the dark arts, and more like one of those hosts of heaven.
Her earlobe looks kind of funny, but
Michel undoubtedly felt the same way, for his gaze was affixed firmly upon her.
Aw, that's actually really cute. How do I, like...
Dazzling, isn't it? Like a staircase leading to heaven.
Yes, perhaps so. There would, like... I feel like I'm... No, anyway.
Is something the matter?
No, I'm fine.
You know, it feels like there's something odd in the air here. It feels like someone actually might be listening. If the witch were to speak to you, what would you say to her?
Oh wait, that was that Michel. That was that. Yeah, that was him. If the witch were to speak to you, what would you tell her? That's being blocked out, and that's being blocked out. Oh, there's lots of blocking out. Wait. Whoa! Look at this too. Question marks. He felt. So his gaze firmly fixed upon her. All right, so I'm looking. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit more. Okay. So it's when he looked at her. As a bit of an aside, I'd like to share with you a little fact of life, my dear. Humans have a far greater capacity to hurt, betray, and forsake others than they do to love, trust, and protect them. And that's precisely what the majority of people do. Yes, I believe you know good and well that no matter how much you may trust someone, they're still going to abandon you in the end. Ooh, that's reminiscent of the Mistborn. Ooh, man. And then all of this is being blocked out. And then, here again, my dear friend. The two of us have much more in common with each other than anyone else. We both suffered at others' hands, and we both deserve to have our vengeance. Ooh.
I would ask her to tell me her true feelings, to tell me what kind of person she was, and what kind of pain she had to endure. I just want to know what she felt, the woman the people branded a witch.
The legend was written from a neutral perspective. It's possible she was the official witch. It's also possible she wasn't.
I get the feeling she was just persecuted, like me. Like me and you.
Unlike you, I am truly impure. Disagree all you want, but my touch kills. I am a strange, incomprehensible, irrational creature. Or maybe I'm not even a living being, and that's why when I touch something that is, I bring them death.
If only I actually were a witch. If only I actually had some kind of extraordinary power, regardless of whether it came from God or the devil, then I would be able to grant people's wishes.
My wish need not be granted.
But it's what I want to do. I wish to be able to touch you.
Oh, I'm sure.
I would be perfectly content with nothing changing, with us never being able to touch one another. I would be more than happy with that. But I'm allowed to dream, aren't I? It doesn't have to be in this life. Jeez, dude, she is crazy hooked.
I pray the day will come that we can get closer, even if it has to happen in another life.
Happiness is very much a stranger to me, but am I allowed to dream too?
You are.
I will never touch you, I swear it. But I would like to dream about it. I would like to imagine placing my hands upon your cheek.
You can. Reach your hand out for me.
Oh, don't tempt him. Oh my gosh, he's gonna do it?
I will imagine it too. I'm imagining your fingers running through my hair.
Is this about to get a little... Yeah, we'll see.
Brushing up against my skin. I can feel your warmth.
Alright. And let's go back. Yeah, see, there's more here. There's all... Ooh, this is apparently a conversation that this person did not want them having. Oh my gosh, there's so much here. Well, okay. I'm glad I'm checking, man. So we got to this point. It's all blocked out.
Go on, what's the matter? Make this tale into your reality. Surrender yourself in this moment to this beautiful story and remain here in the mansion with Giselle. Watch in this moment, this dream. Who are you? Well, that's a surprise. You actually have a conscious mind. Are you aware of who you are? Ah, you know nothing. Who are you? Someone you once spent a great deal of time with. I must say, I'm impressed you made it back here, my dear. Your soul was ground into dust. It will all come back to you eventually. Then I'll be there waiting for you again, my dear, whispering into your ear for centuries to come, and this time I will not fail. I'll mold your soul into the same shape as mine. Ah, what a wonderful little show these puppets are putting on for us, wouldn't you say? Giselle? Giselle? Indeed, that is Giselle. The white-haired girl standing there is Giselle. We once read a book together. It was by the fireplace. You did not. Those memories are false. Books belong in the library. Why would they be by a fireplace? Curse them, slaughter them, revile them, inflict eternal suffering on all those their souls. Take revenge on the fools who laughed as we agonized. There were... Okay. Let's unpack this a little bit here. So, once again, we get this impression, like, right here. We first see... She's like... We both deserve to have our vengeance. Go on, what's the matter? Make this tale into your reality. Surrender yourself in this moment to this beautiful story. So it's like... It's like, I think maybe she is the maid, and the maid's trying to mold us into something like her. As in, like, here, she's giving us this story, and she's like, oh, you're in this story, this is where you're from, it's a lovely story, but then it's gonna be twisted, and we're gonna want to get revenge on, like, people, and, like, she's, like, to justify her actions as the witch from maybe long ago. And so she's saying, like, look, this is fake, but accept it and be a part of, like, my world, effectively. But then she's like, well, wait a minute, you have a conscious mind. Interesting. She's like, do you know who you are? And she's like, oh, wait, you don't know. So who are you? Someone you want to spend a great deal of time with. Okay, interesting. So maybe this is actually us. Like, you know nothing. Like, that. This is us, our silence. Yeah. Okay, it's a conversation. Up till now, it's been, like, one-sided. But then we have unknown, her speaking, and then this is, like, probably us. Who are you? Oh, well, that's a surprise. Silence. Ah, you know nothing. Who are you? Someone you once spent a great deal of time with. Must say I'm impressed you made it back here. Your soul was ground into dust. Then nothing. I'll make you come back. I will make you it will all come back to you. And then I will not fail. I will mold your soul into the same shape as mine. So, yeah, interesting. So she, like, wants to be together, but she wants them to meet up, to like... Then I say, like, what a little show. And then Giselle, is that, like, maybe that's me? And indeed, that is Giselle. The white-haired girl standing there is Giselle. We once read a book together. It was by the fireplace. So that might be the real memory. It's like
So maybe we are Michel. Because we once read a book together. It was by like Giselle and me, the character, the person reading it, read a book by the fireplace. And then she responds like, no, you didn't. Those are false. Books belong in the library. Why would they be by a fireplace? Interesting. And then silence on our part. Curse them, slaughter them, revile them, inflict eternal suffering on all their souls, take revenge on the fools who laughed as we agonized. So she's like kind of freaked out that we kind of had a memory that was real, and now she's telling us to she's kind of revealing her. Oh my gosh, there's like a whole second story here. All right.
There was a wall between them, a wall they could not cross, for if they did, it would mean the white-haired girl's death. No matter how much they yearned for it, they could not touch one another, so they did so within the confines of their imagination, envisioning it in as much detail as they could manage. It was sad, but sweet, a moment of pristine, untainted beauty. The two of them emanted serenity, as flitting as the word cursed might have been to the mansion as a whole. At the top of the observation tower, a pure bond was being shared. A fleeting moment between a young man with a cursed touch and a kind-hearted, beautiful girl. The dream did not last long, no, for God is quite cruel. They simply wanted to be together, that was all. Their wish was hardly unreasonable. Only a quiet, peaceful life together. But misfortune was creeping ever nearer, its footsteps growing more and more pronounced.
What is this crazy story within a story? That's really freaking cool. Like, this is... Okay. This is the epitome of what visual novels can be. What makes the genre so good is that this kind of stuff you can't really put into another medium. Like, can you imagine a book that had hidden books inside of it? Like, or somehow some kind of cipher that would like give you an actual message. I mean, I wonder if any authors have actually done that. That's an interesting idea. And then like to have like this whole backstory and like not knowing what you can actually trust here. And see, like, so I have yet to see any edits being made by the maid. I think everything she says comes through perfectly smoothly. But that's probably a really good place to stop, if I'm honest. Like at the brink of disaster, but I think we've learned a lot, and I'm very excited to see what else we can dig. Excuse me, that we can dig up in this. Ooh, I've got like the hiccups now. I'm really excited. I up till now I was like, oh, red text, that's gonna be fun. But now it's like I'm really, really happy that I noticed like the question marks like in there, because that's really easy to miss if you just scroll through really quickly. And then to see the conversation that's between two people, if I hadn't been going over it again with you guys, I would have missed it. So, ooh, that's really good. I hope you enjoyed watching me discover all that, because it was very rambly and very like all over the place. But oh my gosh, this has been fan-flippin-tastic. I've enjoyed this series up until now, for sure. It's been a pretty fun series. Very well written, very good music, everything, da-da-da. But this is taking the cake. It's blowing my mind, and I love the sense of discovery that's into it. Like, again, you can't get this in a normal story. Like, movies can't do this for you. Books really can't unless someone's really, really clever. Or like Brandon Sanderson kind of does this where there's like background stuff going on, but like most of the stuff that has to be filled in for that has to be stuff he fills in personally at like Q&As and that. But this is all like in the story, but like you have to hunt for it, you have to be looking for it. And I'm so lucky that my first playthrough I was able to accidentally find some of this that got me looking, and now that I'm looking I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. It makes me wonder though, maybe there were things in the other stories that I completely missed. We'll have to see, but oh, it's really, really cool, and I'm curious. I feel like it is building up to a thing. Like, I think the choice I need to make. Don't tell me if I'm right, but the choice I feel like I need to make right now. Like, I feel like there's going to be a choice. It's definitely implying there's going to be one, and the choice is going to be to accept this story as it is, to probably join the maid and kind of like continue to follow her. I'm starting to think that that's the bad problem. I think she might be Fata Morgana. I think she's the reference of the witch who was born in the mansion, who was killed, and like became this like specter that grants wishes but brings calamity at the same time. That she is the mansion, effectively. That she's not smoking the heavens. She's like the mansion itself. Like it's almost like a monster house, except it doesn't try and eat people in that regard. But like she's always been there, and yet she takes a very passive approach, and yet she's also like, I don't know. It's like she wants to be with somebody. And I think what's actually happened too is I'm thinking that we are Michel. Sorry, I want Miguel. Who's Miguel? Michel. And maybe she fell in love with Michel, but Michel was falling in love with the white-haired girl. And so she ended up cursing them both and killing them. And then kind of cursed the white-haired girl to always find misery. You know, like perpetually finding misery. And then she wants to shape the soul of Miguel. I'm saying Miguel again. Why? Michel, into joining with her and being with her and molding him into her, like be like her. And if he doesn't, she kills him and then brings him back and goes through it all over again. I don't know. That seems. I feel like I don't have any evidence for that so far, but the tiny little hints that I've just read. So I'm thinking that might be part of it. Well, who knows? Anyway, enough speculation. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. Oh, there's a lot of juicy stuff today. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear some of your reactions to it. Again, please keep the spoilers away. I get a feeling I have to make a critical choice at some point, and I want to go into it blind. It might suck because I might miss the true ending, but I have to do it right. I have to do it with my experience. And then with this series, like sometimes I don't know, like we'll when we get there, we'll get there. We'll see what I do with it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. As always, it's a pleasure having you here. It's a pleasure being able to share these stories with you. As it's just fun. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And until the next video, watching the video, have to see me next. I'll see you there.